I've been waiting for this one for a while. Let's take a look at Spider-Man on the PC, running on my RTX 3090 Ti and the LG 83-inch G2. Alright, so here we go. Spider-Man remastered on the PC, Steam version. Definitely supporting all of the Sony PC releases. I hope we see the entirety of Sony's games coming to PC. This is just looking amazing. For reference, I have a RTX 3090 Ti, Intel 12900K, PCI Gen 4 SSD, 32 gig of DDR4 RAM, pretty high-end gaming PC, feeding my LG 83-inch LG G2, and just looking phenomenal. So let's take a look at a couple things real quick. Down here into display settings, I am running pretty high. Full screen 4K, of course. I have my Windows desktop set up for 4K 120, outputting 444 color, 12-bit, all set up in HDR with G-Sync and everything enabled. So HDR on, max luminance set to 1000 nits. No upscaling, no dynamic resolution, none of that. Just straight up full 4K native rendering and going full bore here on the settings. Very high texture quality, 16x texture filtering everywhere I could. Very high. Ray tracing, this is the one thing that I did turn down a little bit. I went from very high down to high. Object range set kind of there in the middle around 5. All the geometry stuff set to very high. Some of the things that we kind of don't want in PC gaming turned off. No depth of field, no chromatic aberration, no motion blur, no film grain. Field of view kind of in the middle there. And this is still running across a pretty wide range of frame rates, but running awesome. I haven't tuned it. There's obviously going to be some settings in there that can be turned down to restore more frame rate, but if we take a look, game optimizer there, looking around the city, full view, all the way through the harbor, all the way across, triple digit frame rates. Man, I can't wait till we have 4000 series cards. They're just going to be able to peg so many games at 120/115 FPS. You might not even really need VRR just to deal with little blips and whatever at the top end there. If I pull up the other VRR screen by hitting the green button on the LG remote a bunch of times just to confirm there, we can see video level color 444, 12-bit 4L2, full bandwidth 48 gigabit per second, HDMI 2.1. I got my gaming PC down in my basement in my storage room over a nice long RUI Pro HDMI 2.1 cable into the LG. This is as good as it gets. So as you can see, I'm looking around the city here, getting some drops down into the 70s. Saw 7 there. Still nicely above 60 FPS. VRR with real G-Sync. Let's swing around a little bit, see what we get. 79, 95, 90. Stop and take a look at the reflections on some of these windows. Oh, look at that city. So crisp, so smooth. Let's get into some combat. The only thing I really wish I had, I wish I could have my PlayStation 5 save. I beat this whole game, I platinumed it. I'd really like to be able to New Game Plus it on the PC here. So we got some cutscenes. This just looks awesome. This is just utterly destroying the PS5. Oh, down under 60, into the 50s. Definitely gonna have to do some tuning, or at least wait another couple months here. Hopefully in a 4090 will take care of all of that. Playing with the Xbox Elite controller, my favorite controller. Wish I had all my abilities and all that from my PlayStation save. So just to show this off a little bit as well, trying to see what some DLSS does in here, setting just for quality because we're already running frame rates generally in excess of 60, pretty highly in excess of 60. So we'll throw DLSS quality mode on here. No dynamic resolution scaling still. We'll just let DLSS help with performance. Everything else still kind of maxed out, so that again, there are going to be some optimizations to make in here to maybe turn some of these things down. Even with a 3090 Ti, probably don't need to use DLSS. Just tweak a couple settings and get this frame rate, up in the 80s, 90s, up near 100. But this is an easy way to juice that frame rate and hold it higher while still leaving all of the other settings pretty well set, pretty well maxed out. So let's play for a couple seconds here and see where we get DLSS quality mode on top of those other settings.
Uh-oh. Incoming!
So yeah, for the most part here, easy 100 FPS, DLSS quality on. Pretty amazing.
Writing your memoirs? Don't forget the hyphen between spider and man.
All right, so we want to take a look at what Spider-Man on the PC, maxed out, fully running and all that looks like compared to the PlayStation 5. Let's do that. So I navigated to the same spot of the city up by Central Park, kind of on the west-hand side there. I did bump the field of view up a little bit. It really didn't do much on the frame rates with the DLSS quality. I'm still sitting here in the 90s. But in any case, take a look at how much we can see. We've got the Oscorp building in front of us, that street on the right-hand side with the roundabout, all the way over across the park. I've got the top of the Oscorp building right about at the top of the screen. And we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, several, almost 10 major buildings to the left of the Oscorp. Everything is nice, bright, sharp, all the way. I can see those cars moving, the tree, the foliage, all of it. I played this whole game on my PS5 when it came out. I thought it looked great. And I guess it does for the console, but oh my goodness. It is a little bit different of a time of day in the games right now, and that might have a little bit of an effect on some of the visuals, but look at, there's the shimmering on the buildings on the left. Everything looks just so drab. If I go into my settings just to show visual settings, HDR on, performance RT. Now I am switching this in a zone 2 through my Anthem processor that drives my home theater, so I'm not actually taking advantage of 120 and the unlocked frame rates. So performance RT, 60 FPS mode, 120 Hertz mode off. Thought I had these turned off. Let's go ahead and do this anyway. No motion blur, no film grain, chromatic aberration off. Just an amazing difference. How little we see. Again, I'm on the same tower looking at the same buildings. How little we see, how much better this looks. PC over console all day, every day. I think it's time for my PlayStation and my Xbox to go. Look down at what we're looking like here. Again, this doesn't look bad, and nobody should feel upset about having a current generation console, PlayStation 5, Xbox. They're really amazing for what they are, particularly for their prices. We're talking about a $400 console here against effectively what was, now that PC prices are going down, but what was a $4,000 computer. It should win, it should spank it, it should deliver a whole another level of graphical fidelity and experience, and of course it does. So I don't want to downplay the consoles by any means. They really do a lot for what they are, for what they cost, for the simpleness. Plug them in, they work, no building, no windows, no drivers, no maintenance that a PC takes. They're phenomenal things, but level to level, they just can't compete. So if you can accept the complexity and you want to pay the price, there's no substitute. There's no not taking this level of quality. This is just so good. Pull up the game optimizer again, 100 FPS with all these settings, all these visuals, all this stuff turned on. Take a look at this brick building here versus the PlayStation. All right, one more comparison, some reflections. Sitting on a building just next to Central Park, really close to the tower that I was just sitting on. This is the PC. Ray traced reflections on very high, DLSS on quality mode, everything maxed out, 4K 120, set is maximum frame rate, VRR sitting here in the 90s. Look at that city, look at that detail. I'm in a fairly similar place, I think the exact same place on the PlayStation. Spider-Man looks great, but the PlayStation just doesn't hang with the PC in terms of rendering everything else. in the visuals around him. If I go ahead and look to the side, you can see I'm about at the height of that building, Central Park just over there. You can see those towers and all that in the background reflecting off. Again, kudos to what the consoles are able to do, but they just don't do this. There's that building, again, similar height, towers, Central Park, the trees. Man, it just feels so zippy when I move the camera. All that, the whole city in that window. Maxed out 3090 Ti, looking just amazing. Can't wait for the 4090. Some comparisons against the PlayStation. To me, I want to see unfettered. What can the PC do that a console can't? And man, it can do a lot. I can't wait. Sony, just drop all the games. Day and date, bring them all. So what do you think? Are you rebuying Spider-Man? Are you going to replay it in this extra fidelity, extra quality? What are you waiting for in terms of Sony games on PC? You excited for the 4000 series? All of that PC home theater gaming. You can't beat it. The other thing that I'll have to take a look at is I believe this game, like the other Sony games, supports ultra-wide. Got to try that out in the theater downstairs. Man, I need that new JVC NZ HDMI 2.1. 4K 120 on a 4090 in the theater, ultra-wide, home theater gaming. So sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you might like to see in this area of PC gaming, home theater gaming. And otherwise, please do all the regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Look down in the description below for a plethora of ways to support the channel, and come on back for more home theater fun. Thanks.